Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We put together a presentation about our Healthy University Nutrition website and cultural adaptation resources that are available for you. My name is Veronica and I'm a registered dietitian. I'm co-presenting today with my registered dietitian colleague Fatim that I work with at the Toronto Rehab Cardiac Rehab program. The ground rules haven't changed. The presentation is for education only. You do have the opportunity to ask your questions, so feel free to use that Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen. But remember, when you do submit a question, we can only answer the questions generally. So if you have a specific question for your situation, we would ask that you follow up with your healthcare provider or registered dietitian for a more specific answer. Today, we plan to review the nutrition resources and videos found on the Healthy University website. And after that, Fatim will highlight the language translations and cultural adaptation resources available for you. I hope you enjoy the session today. I'm going to start with flipping over to our website, Healthy University. Hope you can see that. That's our website, Healthy University. And we decided to dedicate this session to reviewing this resource because even though we speak about it every session, I still have patients that haven't had the time to visit the resource. And we believe it's such a valuable evidence-based resource that we thought it would be a good opportunity to spend some time to review it. Now, we've made this resource for you, with your help. So we've created resources and then asked patients who have been in the program what they think, and we have revised it accordingly. So we do hope you use it and you enjoy it. So this is the Healthy University homepage. There are two colleges. We have the Cardiac College here and the Diabetes College. So as you know, the Cardiac College is devoted for heart health, and the Diabetes College is there to help you manage your blood sugars. Now, if you are living with diabetes, I do encourage you to check this website out, but today we will be only focusing on the Cardiac College website. So you click on that and it will bring you to our homepage, which I'm sure you're familiar with because this is how you log into the Zoom webinar. But when you're on this webpage, not only talks about healthy eating, but we also have sections about treating heart disease, getting active, my favorite, eating healthy, but I may be a little biased, feeling well, and taking control. So our healthy eating resources will be in this section here. And if I can, oops, I don't want to make it too small. But the first section here is what is healthy eating? This is a nice little video from our medical director, Dr. Paul O. and Longos, who had sponsored a lot of this content to be created. So I would encourage you to look at that. But if you click on that arrow right beside what is healthy eating, there'll be sub-tabs. So you can click on this and then it will bring you to 6 videos. These are really great videos that are done by a dietitian who has been part of the cardiac rehab program, and they're on various topics. So managing high cholesterol, talking about how to include more plant-based proteins like those legumes, discussing how to include fruits and vegetables. There's 2 videos about reading food labels because we know how much information is on those food labels, so we really wanted to break it into 2 parts. And then another video devoted to how to cut back on sugar. So the difference between natural sugars and added sugars, and how to manage that. I'm going to load this video now. It's about trying to include your fruits and vegetables. And maybe we can take the 3 minutes to watch one of them to see.
Eating enough vegetables and fruit each day is important for good health. Vegetables and fruit provide us with vitamins, minerals, fiber, and antioxidants. Research shows that people who eat more vegetables and fruit each day lower their risk of getting a heart attack, stroke, and cancer. So how do you know if you're getting enough vegetables and fruit each day? Canada's Food Guide recommends that adult men and women aim to include 7 servings of vegetables and fruit every day. And while that may seem like a lot, you might be surprised at how quickly that can add up by the end of the day. So what exactly is a serving size? When it comes to vegetables, generally speaking, a serving is half a cup. For uncooked leafy greens like spinach and lettuce, a serving is 1 full cup. When it comes to fruit, larger fruit in particular, like a mango or avocado, 1 serving would be half that fruit. A medium-sized piece, roughly the size of a tennis ball, like an orange, apple, or pear, that counts as 1 serving. For smaller fruit, like berries, grapes, and cherries, 1 serving is half a cup. And for dried fruit, like raisins, 1 serving is a 1/4 cup. Now that you know what a serving size is, consider how many you get every day. And are you getting enough? Here are some tips to help ensure that you get your 7 a day. Always make sure to have fresh, frozen, and canned vegetables and fruit on hand. For canned fruits and vegetables, be sure to buy unsweetened and no salt added versions. Make sure to drain the liquid and rinse off any extra salt or sugar. Frozen vegetables are just as healthy as fresh and can save you lots of time in the kitchen. Plan ahead. Think about what meals you're going to cook during the week. Then write a shopping list of the vegetables and fruit that you want to include. You're more likely to eat vegetables and fruit if you have them available in your house. Aim to include 1 or 2 servings of vegetables and fruit at breakfast, again at lunch, as a snack, and again at dinner. This is something that you can gradually work up to. Think, every time you go to eat, what fruit or vegetable will you include? The more color on your plate, the more nutrition your body receives. Colorful vegetables and fruit provide us with powerful antioxidants that can fight off disease. Aim to include 1 serving of green and orange vegetable and fruit every day. Try these tips to make sure that you get your 7 a day for better heart health.
Hope you enjoyed that. And as I mentioned, there's 5 other videos there that I would encourage you to watch. Now, if we flip to the next section of the website, it's fats. So you click fats, and it will walk you through actually 3 different types of fats that are found in our food system. We have, sorry, I'll increase that so you can read it, something called unsaturated fats, something called saturated fats, and then another fat that's called trans fat. Now, unsaturated fats are mainly found in plants. Those are the ones that are liquid at room temperature, so that would be like your olive oil, for example. And we've spoken about unsaturated fats. They're mainly, they're very much promoted in the Mediterranean dietary pattern, as well as that DASH dietary pattern and the vegetarian or vegan pattern. And those are the fats that have been shown to reduce our LDL, or our lousy cholesterol levels. So that's something that we do want to include a lot of. The saturated fat is mainly found in animals. It's the harder fat at room temperature, so it would be something like butter or the marbling of meat. That would be saturated fat, and too much of this type of fat can actually increase our LDL cholesterol levels, or lousy cholesterol. So we don't want too much of this. And then finally, we have something called trans fat. Now, trans fat is a man-made fat, something that we've created, and it is, it does two things we don't want, which one is to reduce our healthy cholesterol or our HDL, and it will also increase our LDL cholesterol or our lousy cholesterol. So we actually are suggesting that you try to avoid trans fat as much as possible. And even Canada as a whole has been trying to um, ban it. Sorry, I was looking for the word, ban the use of trans fat in our food system. And I think it's been the last 2 years that they've been doing this. And as of September of this year, it will actually can't be sold in our food supply. So that will be good. You don't have to look for trans fat anymore. But for now, I would suggest looking at what is trans fat and where it can be found to try to avoid it. So when we go down the section here, there's a little bit about cholesterol. There's that video about managing high cholesterol. And then it also talks about what cholesterol is, that LDL and HDL, what it does in our body, how it's made. So lots of good information. How much fat do we need? Again, that Mediterranean, the DASH diet, and the vegetarian or vegan dietary pattern, they are higher fat eating, their ways of eating, because they include so much of those healthy unsaturated fats. So we are trying to aim for around 30% of our calories from fat. And then when we look at that saturated fat, we don't want any more than 7% of our calories from saturated fat. So what does that look like for you? You can go through the sections here about unsaturated fats and saturated fats, and they'll tell you what foods are common, those food groupings, or you can always talk to your registered dietitian to see how much fat you're eating. So again, breaks it down into the unsaturated fats, then talks about the saturated fats, and then those trans fats, which we're trying to avoid, also known as a partially hydrogenated vegetable oil. So that's what you would see on the food label if you're looking on the ingredient list. That's how you would know trans fat is there if it says partially hydrogenated vegetable oil. Now the next section is triglycerides. That's not something we eat, but it's something that's measured when you go to the lab. You can check your triglyceride level. If it is high, we do want it to be less than 1.7. And if it's higher than that, nutrition actually plays a large role in either increasing or decreasing this number. So if it is high, there are nutrition strategies to try to manage that. One is to reduce your sugar intake or those added sugars. Perhaps it's reducing alcohol intake. I know I've talked to many patients who have actually increased their alcohol intake over the last few months, and maybe that's something to look at. Are you eating enough of those omega-3 essential fatty acids? Remember, those are the ones that are found in fish, as well as plant sources like walnuts, hemp hearts, flaxseed, chia seeds. And then maybe it's just watching how much fat you are eating, or maybe it's that trans fat as well. So take a look there. And then there's lastly the button about resources, and those are external websites that we recommend, that have evidence-based research there, and resources for you for further reading. We have a fiber section. So fiber is great. Remember those dietary patterns, the Mediterranean dietary pattern, the DASH dietary pattern, and the vegetarian or vegan dietary pattern, promotes plant foods, and fiber is found in plant foods. So we are promoting more fiber when we talk about eating more plants. There's two types of fiber, something called soluble fiber, and then another one called insoluble fiber. The soluble fiber is beneficial because if you eat enough of it, it can reduce our cholesterol levels. And that's usually found in oats, as well as those plant-based proteins like the legumes, and then some whole grains like barley, It's also in your flaxseed and psyllium. So there are a variety of foods where you can eat to include enough soluble fiber. And then insoluble fiber is the type of fiber that adds bulk to our stool and helps keep us regular. So it is important, not necessarily for our cholesterol levels, but for other things. So it's good to have a balance of both. Now, if you go further, how can I get more fiber? It will actually give you some tips about how to include more fiber in your diet. There's an example menu about how to include the recommended 25 to 50 grams of fiber in a day. And then there's a whole bunch of suggestions. So this is the vegetable section, and then different vegetables and how much fiber are found in each of those, to see if you could try to get up to your 25 to 50 grams in a day. There's also a fruit section, and whole grains and cereals. So I would encourage you to look at that. Then we have legumes. Remember those wonderful plant-based proteins. And we have a video on this as well. So I'll play this video for you. It's again about 3 minutes long, but it's a great way to start to think about how to include more of these plant proteins into your
Dried beans, peas, and lentils all belong to the legume family. Legumes are among the most versatile and nutritious foods available and can be enjoyed all year round, from a chili on a cold winter's day to a bean salad on a hot summer's day. They provide protein, fiber, folate, potassium, magnesium, and iron. Legumes are typically low in fat and contain no cholesterol. Research shows that eating 1 serving of legumes per day can lower your LDL or lousy cholesterol by 5%. Legumes can be an economical and healthy substitute for meat. Health Canada recommends having legumes often in place of meat to reduce saturated fat and increase fiber intake. Fiber helps to lower blood cholesterol levels, manage blood sugar levels, and maintain regular bowel movements. Additionally, a study found that eating 1 cup of legumes daily for 3 months can significantly lower blood pressure, blood sugar levels, and cardiovascular risk for those living with type 2 diabetes. So how can I include legumes in my diet? Remember that they come canned, frozen, and dry. Dried legumes need to be pre-soaked before they are cooked. Canned and frozen legumes are convenient because they're already cooked.
Just make sure you drain and rinse canned legumes first to remove any excess sodium. Many canned varieties are even sold as no salt added.
There are many different types of legumes, varying in color, texture, taste, and shape. Here are some common examples.
Chickpeas are also known as garbanzo beans. They have a creamy texture. Chickpeas are used in spreads like hummus or added to salads, soups, curries, chilies, stews, and pasta dishes.
Try roasting chickpeas with some chili powder for a delicious crunchy snack.
Red or white kidney beans have a soft texture. Add them to soups, stews, chilies, rice, and to make colorful bean salads. Lentils are small and circular in shape. They are available in a variety of colors. Lentils can be eaten as a side dish or added to salads, soups, curry dishes, and you can even use them as a vegetarian alternative for a burger patty. Split peas are small peas that have been split into 2 halves. They come in different colors and are commonly used in soups or curry dishes. Depending on the dish, they can be cooked until they are tender, or if you are looking for a creamy texture, cook them longer until they soften and fall apart.
So go ahead, add legumes more often to your meals for better heart health.
I hope that video showed you all the many of the legumes that are available, and some tips about how to include them more often into your eating pattern. So under fiber here, we also have the fruits and vegetables video that we watched, as well as more tips about how to include fruits and vegetables. And then another resources tab for some external web links, as well as cookbooks and other things that are recommended. So for further reading, if you have time. The next section is all about sodium. So if you watched our webinar last week, it was all about sodium and how it impacts our blood pressure. So a lot of the information that we discussed there is on our website here. So lots to look at. Some of the ones that I recommend is some recipes here about how to flavor without salts, and some herb mixes that you can make on your own. And then as well as some matching, so some foods that you would have, and then spices or herbs that are recommended to go with that food to increase the flavor. How do you lower your blood pressure? So as I said, very similar information to what we presented, all about that DASH dietary pattern and how it is low in sodium, but also high in other nutrients like potassium, magnesium, and calcium, and what those foods are in the potassium, magnesium, and calcium nutrients. We also talked about alcohol and exercise, and then that DASH dietary pattern and how that relates to blood pressure regulation. We also have a little bit about how to choose low sodium foods by reading that food label. And then again, a resource tab for some external web links. We also have a section here about reading food labels. And it's actually a pretty big section because the food label itself is divided into a list, ingredient list, a nutrition facts panel, as well as some nutrition claims. So that's broken up here, broken up into those pieces on the side here. So the ingredient list, there's that video that we talked about at the beginning, what to look for in your ingredient list. And then we also have that nutrition facts panel. Again, you can watch the video, but there's also some information at the bottom. And then nutrition claims as well. Those would be things like cholesterol free or no cholesterol, things that you see on the front of package. It tells you what it means, where it may be found, and is it something that we should be looking out for, or is it perhaps more advertising for the product? So that would be a neat one to look for. Added sugars, there's a whole video about that, but it also discusses, how much added sugar we need in a day, or how much added sugar we don't want to exceed in a day, I should say, and then how to reduce some of those added sugars in your eating pattern. And then we also have another resource tab for reading food labels and more actual videos that you could look at here if that's something that you have time for. This is one of my favorite sections, the recipe section. There's 6 recipes that are featured here, and they are done or presented, I guess, by a registered dietitian and the Longo chef. They are all recipes that are part of the DASH diet as well as the Mediterranean dietary pattern. So it's just something to highlight. I know that a lot of people in the last few months have spent a lot more time preparing their own meals and maybe sharing meals with others. So if you are looking on the internet for new recipes to try, I would promote these ones. I've tried them all, and they're very simple, but also extremely tasty. So I would, suggest watching them. The homemade pizza one is delicious, but also this hummus dip is one of my favorites. A lot of patients always ask me how to include more legumes in our eating pattern, and this is a really easy way to start using some of those chickpeas. So I'll play this video for you about how to make this really quick and easy dip, and I can show you what one of the recipe videos would look like.
Today we're going to discuss the health benefits of a Mediterranean diet as we prepare some dishes that are well known to the region. But just before we do, I want to share with you some exciting research that helps support eating this way. Studies show that following a Mediterranean style of eating can reduce risk factors linked to your heart, such as high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, and metabolic syndrome by 30%. And if you're someone living with type 2 diabetes and heart disease, following this pattern of eating has been shown to reduce your risk of dying from cardiovascular causes by 50 to 70%. That's amazing. So what is the Mediterranean diet? The key principles of a Mediterranean diet include olive oil as the main source of cooking fat, plenty of vegetables, salad, and fruits, legumes like chickpeas, lentils, beans, nuts and seeds, whole grains, fish more often, and less of meat, dairy, and poultry, and wine in moderation. So today we're going to make a few dishes to show you how to put all the principles of a Mediterranean diet together. So let's get started. So today we're going to make a traditional Middle Eastern hummus that will include many of those principles of a Mediterranean diet.
Yes, and most importantly, we're going to show how you can make a healthy hummus at home. So in order to make the hummus at home, you're going to need these ingredients over here. So we're going to start now by putting all the ingredients in this beautiful blender. And the first ingredient is a bit of extra virgin olive oil.
Yes, the extra virgin olive oil is the main source of cooking fat used in the Mediterranean diet. It's an unsaturated fat that is known to lower LDL, that's the lousy cholesterol in the body.
Okie doke. Then a bit of fresh chopped garlic.
Add some wonderful flavor.
I mean, most hummuses have a good amount of garlic in. So there we are with the garlic. The fresh lemon juice from one lemon. And I'm then going to add about 2 tablespoons of tahini.
So tahini is a sesame seed paste, which really adds and makes a difference to any hummus.
And then we are going to add the chickpeas.
Once again, a key principle of the Mediterranean diet, it's part of the legume family, offers many health benefits. They're loaded with fiber, potassium, magnesium, and they play a special role, again, in heart health, in that they too lower LDL cholesterol, the lousy cholesterol, and they also play a role in managing blood sugar levels in people with diabetes.
The final little touch, I'm going to use my blackening seasoning, as I mentioned. It's got the beautiful cumin, cayenne, coriander, and just sprinkle some in, just as an enhancer to this gorgeous dish, and as you can see, so easy to make.
Absolutely. It's just a matter of putting all the ingredients in.
There we go. I think we are done.
Great texture.
Well, now we're done, and for you, the moment you've been waiting for, some beautiful, healthy hummus to taste.
Thank you, David. And so hummus is such a versatile dish. You can have it as a dip with raw vegetables or spread it on crackers. It's even great as part of a sandwich with roasted vegetables. Remember, the Mediterranean diet is more than just about the principles of food that are included. It's really about how we eat and where we eat. Sitting with friends, family, enjoying the meal, and taking time to enjoy that meal. Bon appetit.
That's the how to make hummus on your own. I hope it highlights how easy it can be to make some of these recipes at home. So it's really clear about how you're able to be walked through the recipe and the ingredients that you would need. Making healthy food choices as the next section. This is our newest resource. It actually has 19 videos. They're shorter in length, about 1 to 2 minutes, but it walks you through how to choose different foods when you're going grocery shopping. So for example, how to choose healthy meats, how to choose a healthy cooking oil, how to choose healthy pasta. There's lots of different topics that I would encourage you to browse. With each topic, there's also a tip card. So you could click just on the tip card. It opens in a new menu or new icon in the web browser. And it just highlights the top tips that would be discussed in the video. So this is something you could print off to take to the grocery store with you, or maybe even screenshot it so that you have the things that you are looking for in that food group. Like I said, they're short, so I'll play one video here. Maybe I'll do the choosing healthy cereal video just to show you what it's like.
Eating cereal for breakfast is a great way to start your day. Cereal gives you lots of energy and is full of nutrients. Whether you enjoy hot or cold cereal, there are many tasty and healthy choices. To choose a healthy cereal, start by looking on the package for the term made with 100% whole grain. Grains are made up of different parts, including bran and germ. The bran and germ include more fiber, antioxidants, vitamins, and minerals. Sometimes the bran and germ are removed in processing. When you choose a cereal that is made with 100% whole grain, you will get the nutrients from the entire grain, including the bran and germ. Next, check the ingredient list on the cereal package. The first item on this list should read whole grain. For example, whole grain wheat or whole grain oats. Once you find one that is made with 100% whole grain, find the nutrition facts table. As a first step, check the serving size listed at the top of the table. All of the numbers listed are based on this serving size. Next, look for 5% or less daily value for sodium and 15% or more daily value for fiber. If your favorite cereal is lower in fiber or higher in sugar or sodium, try mixing a small amount of it with a higher fiber cereal to get the taste you love with the nutrients you want. You can also add your own tasty toppings like nuts, seeds, and fruit. When you are looking for hot cereals like oatmeal, look for products that have only whole grains, such as whole grain oats, wheat, and rice. With only whole grains, it is more likely that the nutrients have not been removed from the product in processing, and sugar and sodium have not been added. Steel-cut oats and whole rolled oats are great choices for hot cereal. These are better choices than flavored instant oatmeal, which often contains less fiber, more sugar, and more sodium. Use these tips to choose a healthy breakfast cereal. For more information on fiber and label reading, visit the Eat Healthy section of cardiaccollege.ca or diabetescollege.ca.
So I hope you get the idea that, they're quick tips, but really informative, and they're broken down by different food groupings. So do encourage you to take a look. Now, the last section here is, are you eating the Mediterranean way? And it's a fun little test that you could do to see how your eating pattern compares to the Mediterranean way of eating. And it's a really straightforward 13 questions, and you just answer them yes or no. So, do you use olive oil when you cook? Yes. Are you using 4 tablespoons of olive oil each day? And it gives you an example of what a tablespoon would look like, about 3 dice, or 4 tablespoons is about 1/4 of a cup. So you would go through these 13 questions, and you would see how your eating pattern is. At the end of the 13 questions, you'll get a score out of 13, and it will give you a little tip about, how you're eating and what your score means. The neat thing is, if you click on this button, if you print or save your answers, it won't save it on our web browser. It just saves it briefly in this PDF. If I can, of course, it's not working. But maybe it's downloading and I can't see it. Yep, here it goes. So here we go. If I can open it here. It'll break down each of the 13 questions. It'll tell you what your answer was, and then it will give you a tip. So how can you use olive oil more often? And the tip would be to keep a bottle of, you could do now, see how you're eating and how it compares to the Mediterranean way of eating. And then you could always do it in a month or so and see how your eating pattern has changed. So I hope that is useful, and I do encourage you to do it. Like I said, the information isn't saved, it's just for your reference, and you can always print off a copy of your results to see where you are now and then where you can be. So that's our healthy eating section. We do have the guide as well. You could always go to our homepage, Cardiac College. You can always view the guide here. And then there is one of the booklets here devoted to healthy eating and eating well. You can download that, and it gives you a lot more information about how to eat for a healthy heart, and breaks down, how to eat the Mediterranean way. What does that look like? As well as choosing those healthy fats and eating more fiber. So all the principles we discussed today. So I hope that gives you just more awareness of what resources we do have here on our website. And there was a lot that we didn't cover today, so I hope that you could have some time to review those other resources we have available for you. Now, I did say that Fatim got some time today too, so I hope I didn't take too much time from you, Fatim, and we can go through your slides now.
Okay, thanks so much, Veronica. Yeah, so I just wanted to take a few minutes and address one of the most common questions that we get as dietitians. And we're so lucky that we live in such a multicultural city, and we have patients from all different kinds of backgrounds. And often Veronica and I get asked, well, I'm not following a North American diet. How can I still eat heart healthy? And I think the great thing about the diets that we've promoted, like the Mediterranean diet and the DASH diet and that vegetarian dietary pattern, are all concepts that you can adapt to your culture, your preferences. And I think that's a big part of healthy eating. It's not just what you eat, but how you eat, and enjoying foods with family and keeping up with traditions. So we've done some work in terms of trying to address those questions. Now, you might have noticed when you go on the homepage of Healthy University, right at the top, you can scroll down and you'll notice that the website actually has been translated into various languages. So its default is English, but you can also view it in Spanish, in French, in Portuguese, Punjabi, and Hindi. We're also working on a Chinese translation and an Arabic translation. So those are in the works, and they should be up shortly. So when you go to that drop-down bar, you can click on any language that you're interested in. And the neat thing is, not only is the information translated, but it's also culturally adapted to foods from those areas of the world. And this is really exciting because not only is our website used here at Toronto Rehab and Toronto Western Hospital, but it's used across Canada in various settings, and it's also used in different places around the world. So there are cardiac rehab programs, for example, in Brazil, in India, in Saudi Arabia, that are also using this information. So it's nice to have it in different languages. So I just want to highlight a couple of things. So I'm not going to go through the entire section, but Veronica mentioned the workbook. And so when you do change the language on the website, you can download the workbook in that language. So I'm just going to highlight maybe a few things from the Spanish one first. So here's the Spanish workbook. And then if you go to the Eat Healthy section, you'll notice there's a nice summary page that tells you what foods to choose more often and less often. And you'll notice that we've included a lot of the cultural foods from a Latin American diet. So just a simple graphic that summarizes the information, but then it also goes into a lot more detail. So for example, if you look at the Mediterranean diet, and you look at that section, there's actually a sample menu based on the principles of the Mediterranean diet. So eating more of those plant-based foods, more fish, more of the olive oil, but also using foods from a Latin American diet. So this is just a sample. It will also give you the tables with different foods that are specific to that culture. So Veronica showed you on the website the fiber table that went through some of the most common, fruits and vegetables and grains that we get in North America. But if you look at the Spanish table, it also includes foods like yuca and plantains and things that are maybe more common for people living in areas where Spanish is the main language. So there's tables not only on fiber, but also on sodium and sugars and the different types of fats. Okay, if we look at the South Asian adaptation, again, that's available in Hindi and Punjabi, and you can click on which language you prefer. And again, you can download the entire workbook as a translation to read. And then again, just in terms of the nutrition section, there's a nice summary page, which again outlines foods to eat more often. And you'll notice things like curries and flatbreads and dals in things to include more often. And then things like maybe your deep fried samosas and some of your richer curries made with creams as things to eat less often. But you'll also notice that, the fruits and vegetables that are shown are probably things that are most commonly eaten in a South Asian diet. Again, if we come to that Mediterranean diet, it's been translated. And again, you'll find sample menus based on traditional South Asian foods. And we've included both vegetarian and non-vegetarian versions. So I think that's pretty helpful. And again, when we look at portion sizes, again, that's been translated and adapted, and you'll find the same tables in terms of fiber, sodium, and sugar that are all adapted to the South Asian diet. And as I mentioned, there are some translations and cultural adaptations in the work, so look out for those. We're always updating the website. So we hope that was a helpful overview of all the resources that are available on the Healthy University website. And I think we'll open it up to any questions that have come up.
Great, thanks Fatim, thanks for sharing those resources. We did have one question. It's pretty specific to the individual, but I'll read it here. Is it okay to eat 2 servings of fruit for breakfast and skip fruit for lunch? And then there's another question about I would like some suggestions on using Ensure if I don't have time for lunch. So the first question about eating 2 servings of fruit for breakfast and skipping it for lunch, it depends on, how your blood sugars are doing. If you are living with diabetes, we recommend having 1 fruit per meal, but again, that depends on what else is at that meal and what other carbohydrates are there. So carbohydrates would be things like whole grains, as well as your fruit and some of your milk products. So I would encourage you to connect with a dietitian about how many fruits are right for you at one time. And then the other question here about you'd like some suggestions on using Ensure if I don't have time for lunch. I think we have been promoting eating whole foods as much as possible. So, eating those plant foods will ensure that you're getting the fiber, and that's what has been proven to be the best, for your heart. So that is what we are promoting. Again, sometimes if you don't have time for lunch and you're losing weight and you need the nutrients, we do look to nutritional supplements, but I would suggest that you connect with a dietitian to discuss your own needs.
Thanks, Veronica. So there's a question here. Are you planning on translating in Farsi as well? And a great question. We do have quite a large Persian population, especially in Toronto, and it is on our list. So once we complete the Chinese and the Arabic versions, Farsi definitely is on the list. I can't give you a definite answer as to when that would be completed, but we do realize it is quite a common language that does have quite a demand as well.
And another question came in asking under what category does coconut oil fall into? I'm thinking the category meaning eat more of or eat less. So with the Mediterranean dietary pattern, we do promote having olive oil as your main source of cooking fat, and then other oils such as coconut oil to be eaten less often. Coconut oil is hard at room temperature, which means it's mainly a saturated fat. And remember, we don't want to have too much saturated fat. So that is why it is eat less often and trying to include that olive oil as much as possible. Great. So I think that's all the questions we've had today, which is good. It kind of leaves us at the right time to end today. I want to say thanks again for joining, and thanks for those great questions. I do hope you learned something and have a place to go when you do have some questions about nutrients for your heart. Tomorrow's session is with Rob, and it's a walk and talk. So we do encourage you to tune in to exercise with Rob. And then next Tuesday, there is a session with Jessica, who is going to talk about the heart truths about health change, behavior change. So I hope you can tune in for that as well. And that's the Women with Heart online series next Tuesday. That's it for today. Thanks again for joining, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.